Nick, you're going to start us off this week, and we already know what you're playing. Or have been playing, rather.
I've been playing a little bit, yeah. So, again, this week I haven't had a lot of time. And I bought Cadence of Hyrule in the sale. And have begun. And I was expecting... So, as you know, I talked about it last week. I have played quite a lot of Crypt of the Necrodancer and really, really enjoyed it. But it is painstakingly difficult. And Cadence of Hyrule is also painstakingly difficult, or at least it was. So I decided, I know there's an option where you can switch off the beats, but I decided not to do that. Yes. I kept it on and I've persisted. I'm about 3.5 hours into it, and it's different from Crypt of the Necrodancer, because in Crypt of the Necrodancer you go down through floors, and every time you're in a new room it's random. Like, the layout's completely random. Yeah. And it's also a very small and confined space. I think there's like 4 or 5 main rooms, a few passageways, and then you do the boss, you're down into the next room. And in Zelda they have the overworld map, which is huge. I think it's the same size as the original Legend of Zelda game.
Wow. And then you go through different dungeons as you walk around.
Well, some squares have like a mini dungeon where you can go downstairs, basically, and you can fight a few bosses, or you can fight a boss and there'll be a chest, sometimes with money, sometimes with an item. And there are 4 main dungeons in the game, and I've done one of them. And basically what you have to do is, as I understand, is you have to complete the 4 dungeons and then you battle the final boss, kind of like in a traditional Zelda game. The music, as you heard last week, is fantastic. The remixes are really, really nice. The art style is amazing. Like, I spoke a couple of weeks ago about Link's Awakening, how I really like that art style, but this one is good, but in a completely different way. They've gone right back to the sort of 16-bit sprite style, and I would say it's an evolution of the Minish Cap. So
I'm just about to say it has got that feeling and the flow of that Capcom kind of Minish Cap to it.
And in motion it looks fantastic as well. And when you do everything to the beat, it's lovely. So what's a little bit different about this compared to Crypt of the Necrodancer is Crypt of the Necrodancer, everything you picked up when you were doing a run through the game, it was like for that run, and then like end of the dungeon basically. You get your weapons, you can use them in that run, and then when you die, you go back to square one. In this one, you can find in the like mini dungeons and around the world are the typical Zelda weapons. So like hookshot, you've got the Rock's Feather, arrows, bow and arrow, bombs, things like this. So I've got, I think, about half of the weapons, and it really expands how you can play the game. So like you can take enemies out from further away with arrows, or you can drop bombs to like set traps for bigger enemies to fall into. And as I've built up my like arsenal of weapons, the game has become much, much easier than it was at the beginning, because at the beginning I just had the simple sword and I was dying every 2 or 3 minutes. It was like, I'm not gonna lie, it was very difficult. Maybe I'm just very bad at games, especially rhythm games. But another good thing that I got was I upgraded my sword to a lance, and the lance kills from 2 squares away.
2 squares away.
So it's like, just for me in my head, like planning an attack. I've learned some of the enemy patterns, but definitely not all of them. And planning an attack now is just much easier, because I know I can be further away. If it goes wrong, they're not going to get me. So I've made much, much better progress using that as my main weapon. And I think for about the last hour, I haven't died. But I've also been picking up heart containers. You can build up your hearts, and that's also permanent. So I think I got like 7 now. You start with 3, I got 7 or 8. And if I'm losing health, and I know that I'm going to die pretty soon, I just walk to home, swipe a few bushes, get some hearts, or go to the shop and buy a red potion. So I've figured out now how to stay alive build up my rupees.
You can go back into the dungeon, but you'll have to restart the whole dungeon again, will you? Or do you leave off from where you started?
To be honest, I don't know, because I did the first dungeon a couple of nights ago, and I didn't die in it. I did the ice dungeon, and I didn't die. I was very close to dying, but I managed to do it on one run. So I don't know. Like, that'll be interesting to find out. But no, it's nice. Like, you get diamonds to spend when you die, so you can like give yourself a little power boost upgrade for the next run. And then your rupees, where you can buy items, sometimes permanent items as well. I've got over 1,000 now, because your rupees accumulate. You can get them very easily, but you lose them all when you die. So the punishment for death is basically you lose all your money, but it's quite easy to get it back, to be honest.
But not your progress, not the other stuff. That sounds far more accessible than the original was.
To be honest, it is compared to Crypt of the Necrodancer, it's very, very accessible. But I mean, I think they've done a good job with the Zelda license. Like, it's not. They've used it wisely, in my opinion. Like, they've used the music, they've used the aesthetic, and they've used the weapons and stuff like that. I was talking about, but they haven't gone overboard on it. Like, there's no like Hyrule Warriors, for example, when you just sigh at the story because it's so bad. Like, there's nothing like that in this. It's just a nice, clean. It's its own game, but it borrows a little bit from Zelda. So I don't want to say I've been pleasantly surprised, because I did expect the game to be good, and I've enjoyed what I've played, and I will play it through to the end. And definitely, I think if you have some experience of Crypt of the Necrodancer before you go into this, it will definitely help. But I also think if you don't have any experience, that it's not going to be as intimidating as going into Crypt of the Necrodancer, like, first. So I don't know. My recommendation to anybody who gets this game who got it in the sale is do not do it. Like, do it on a fixed beat. Like, learn it, because it's so much easier and so much better when you get it straight away, instead of like being able to just rush through it and do it at your own pace. Just learn the beat, get used to it. It takes time, but it does come natural eventually. So that would be my advice to somebody who's picking it up. But no, I've enjoyed it, and I think for the price it's at now, definitely worth picking up.
I would, but because you kind of talked me into it, it's kind of like, yes, it does sound more interesting than I thought it was at first, and then when they originally announced it and it was in that Nintendo Direct, I was like, oh, this looks wonderful. And then thinking about what Crypt of the Necrodancer was, that put me off. And so I'm somewhere in between, but I wouldn't pick it up yet. Maybe another future sale, and my backlog's a bit smaller.
Yeah, I've never really liked how it, like, the visuals. Like, I know you say it looks amazing and stuff. It's never really gelled with me, and I didn't really like the demo. So it's a no from me.
Well, I never played the demo. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.